Do you feel too sinful, too broken, or too unclean to come to God and receive salvation? The story of the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible gives a beautiful answer to that question. Let's read Mark 5.
And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse, when she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind, and touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole.
To understand the depth of this moment, we need some context. According to the law of Moses, a woman with a continual issue of blood was considered ceremonially unclean. This state of uncleanness prevented her from entering holy places, participating fully in worship, and even interacting freely with others. Anyone she touched would also become unclean. Normally, once the bleeding stopped, she could undergo a process of cleansing and bring offerings before God through the priest. But this woman's condition never stopped. For 12 years, she remained continually unclean. That meant 12 years of isolation, 12 years cut off from normal life, from community, and from God according to Jewish law. She was trapped in a condition she could not escape. Yet despite all this, she dared to approach Jesus. This was a risky move. Entering a crowd in her condition could have brought severe consequences, but her desperation, and more importantly, her faith, pushed her forward. She believed that Jesus was the answer and was not limited by the law. Verse 27 tells us that she had heard about Jesus. She likely knew of his reputation and his compassion, how he ate with sinners, healed on the Sabbath, and touched those considered unclean. She may even have heard of the sinful woman in Luke 7, who came to Jesus weeping, washing his feet with her tears, and was forgiven. To her, Jesus represented hope beyond the law. As prophesied in book of Isaiah 61, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives. She must have believed that Jesus was the promised Messiah, and that belief gave her the courage to step forward in faith. But what exactly was she seeking? In many translations, verse 28 says, I will be healed. But was she seeking only physical healing? Or is there something deeper hidden in the scripture? The King James Version gives us a clue. In verse 28 it says, I shall be whole. Then in verse 29 it says, she was healed of that plague. If this were only about healing, why use two different words to describe the same thing? Why does the author use both made whole and healed? It is because they are not exactly the same. In verse 28, when she says, I shall be whole, the Greek word used is sothysome, derived from sozo, a word that means to save, to heal, or to make whole. Then, in verse 29, where it says she was healed, the Greek word used is artei, which specifically refers to physical healing or cure. The distinction here is important. This suggests that she was seeking more than physical healing. She actually longed for salvation, for reconciliation and restoration with God. She desired wholeness of heart and soul, and her physical healing followed as a result. And when we continue reading, this becomes even clearer.
And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my clothes? And his disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me? And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague.
When the woman falls before Jesus and tells him the truth, she encounters more than a healer. She encounters God himself. You see, in verse 34, Jesus calls her daughter. Jesus never married or had children, so here he is speaking as God, indirectly telling her that she is no longer an outcast, but is now a child of God. She is saved. He then says, Thy faith hath made thee whole. The Greek word here, sesoken, again comes from sozo, meaning saved or made whole. This is the same word used in Gospel of Luke 7:50, where Jesus tells the sinful woman, "Your faith has saved you, go in peace." This is yet another indication that the woman was saved. In both cases, faith leads to salvation. In both cases, Jesus sends them away in peace, the divine peace he later speaks of in Gospel of John 14:27. You see, the woman with the issue of blood was not seeking merely physical healing when she came to Jesus. She was seeking salvation and a right relationship with God. Finally, Jesus says, "And be whole of thy plague." The Greek word for whole here is eugiais, meaning physically sound or healthy. So when Jesus says, "Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole, go in peace and be whole of thy plague," he is describing her complete restoration. The faith she had saved her first and then healed her. She was restored spiritually, emotionally, and physically. The woman with the issue of blood needed both salvation and healing, which is why Jesus speaks of her being made whole. The woman in Luke 7, who had no physical illness, is simply told that she is saved. Each received exactly what they needed, but both came the same way, through faith, despite their circumstances and public condemnation. These two women show us how we can approach God. No matter how sinful, broken, or unclean you may feel, you can come to Jesus in faith and humility and receive salvation. When God forgives and accepts you, He does not leave you as you are. He restores you fully. He heals, transforms, and makes you new in body, soul, and spirit. Jesus looks at the heart. He saw those two women's desire to be reconciled to Him despite their flaws or sins. So come just as you are. Don't wait to be clean or sinless. Nobody can be perfect before God in their own strengths. God will forgive you, save you, heal you, and transform you into who you were created to be. A reflection of Christ on earth